Hi, my name is Bill Eberlein. I'm owner of Megateeth Fossils. And what I do every day is I dive in the rivers and intercoastal waterway near Savannah, Georgia for Megalodon shark teeth and other fossils. I kind of got started all this back in Erie, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania. And in 1986, I had always wanted to scuba dive. I met a couple friends that were scuba instructors, and they talked me into taking a scuba class. And I really enjoyed it. I loved everything about scuba diving. I used to go as often as I can. I joined a local club, took some more classes, and we used to dive every Sunday and every Wednesday all year round, no matter the weather. And in Erie, in the winters, you get ice. So we used to ice dive. We used to go out Wednesday nights and we'd cut a hole in the ice and there'd be no visibility. The water would be 34 degrees and we'd go down and scuba dive. It wasn't as much fun as it sounds. Actually, it was less fun than it sounds. And we get real cold, but it was kind of something to do with your friends and to go and dive and enjoy what we did. Along the way, in 1992, I went and took an instructor course. So I became a scuba instructor so I could teach other people to dive. So I taught scuba diving for quite a while. While I was in Erie, I went to Penn State. I always planned my real job would be an accountant. I took accounting at Penn State. I got a bachelor's degree from Penn State in accounting, and I also got an economics degree while I was there because I was taking so many extra economics courses. I started working in 1999 as an accountant at MRC Bearings near Erie, Pennsylvania, and I worked at a number of other companies until one of my employers asked me to take over their IT department. Their IT guy left and they asked me to take that over. So I started working more in computers and IT. In 2000, I got a job at Gulfstream Aerospace. I moved to Savannah, Georgia. I always wanted to live in the warmer weather, somewhere where I could dive more and where I could use my boat all year round. So I started diving here in Savannah, and I moved to Savannah for Gulfstream in the IT department. I also started teaching part-time at Savannah Technical College. I was teaching some IT courses there as well. I really enjoyed the teaching. I enjoyed it more than just doing the IT work. Also, I met a guy at Gulfstream, though, that was a scuba diver, and he used to dive. He told me he dove for shark teeth in the rivers, and I thought, well, that's about the dumbest thing I ever heard. I thought he meant little tiny shark teeth, and I thought, well, I don't know why you do that when there's shipwrecks out in the ocean, but that's what he said they did. Well, then he brought in a Megalodon tooth and showed it to me, and I couldn't believe how large it was, how heavy it was, and I was just amazed by everything about it.
Unreal.
Yeah, you did good.
What's the difference between those that tooth and like a normal great white?
Well, it's a whole different species. Great white teeth got to be about like this big. Like a modern great white tooth is like that big.
Wow.
Great white.
Yeah, but the Megalodon were a lot bigger. Yeah.
There you go.
How big did they get?
60 feet long.
And a great white gets.
A great white gets about 20 feet long.
Man.
Yeah.
Unreal.
It is. It's pretty cool, and it's like every time I go diving for them, it's just so exciting.
When you're down there, do you ever feel anything?
I get bumped once in a while. Like I get bumped by stingrays, or you don't see. I don't even know it's
But
bumping
they
you.
don't mess with you. How do you see? Do you have a high light?
You don't. I have a light, but you don't see. It's usually 3 or 4 inches at best. Normally, though, you get no visibility, and it's all by feel.
It is
So you're
on
going
my
around.
bucket list, but it needs to be in some clear.
Yeah, you want to do, this type of diving, you want to be pretty experienced because you have to be able to see your gear. But yeah, I get bumped by stingray. I've been grabbed by, I'll grab something, I think it's a shark tooth because it's real smooth and it's a blue crab. It'll pinch your hand, pinch your thumbs. There was a charter service out of Hilton Head, and I used to go, so I started going diving with them in Hilton Head. And I loved it. I just loved it. I mean, you go down, and every time I'd find a tooth, I'd be amazed, whether the quality was great or just okay. It was just amazing to find something that was, millions of years old that no one's ever seen or touched. And to be able to be the first person to discover it, I just, like I said, I just loved it. So I started diving every chance I got. At one point, Savannah Technical College offered me a full-time job, and my first thought was I didn't really want to teach full-time, but they kind of told me that I would have Fridays off. And so I thought, well, geez, I could dive more. I could dive on Fridays. So I left Gulfstream Aerospace, started teaching at Savannah Tech full time. I started selling some of my shark teeth. I thought, well, I could finance a boat by selling some of the shark teeth I was finding. So I started selling the shark teeth and bought a boat. That got me out diving more. I had more free time to myself. And eventually I accumulated a huge collection of teeth and was selling them. And the business part, the selling shark teeth, the business just took off. So in 2008, I decided to leave Savannah Technical College to just dive full time. It was something I'd thought about doing for a number of years. I kind of prepared for it, building up my inventory and kind of, getting, to the point where I knew I would be, I'd be secure enough to do that. Started diving full time. I never looked back. My wife and I now can travel where we want to dive. We do shows all over the country, and so the diving and the selling shark teeth really kind of go hand in hand with, a more relaxed lifestyle. We really enjoy it. Like I said, my main thing I'm trying to find are the Megalodon shark teeth. I'm really lucky in a lot of ways. One is that here in Savannah, the bottom in the rivers I dive is all clay, and the teeth get embedded in clay. When you go up to Charleston or some of the other areas, or even offshore North Carolina, the teeth are exposed. They're easier to find, but they get tumbled more. They have sand and gravel running over them, and the teeth get more banged up. Here in Savannah, they're embedded in this clay. And so I can go down and I can find these teeth, and they're in just an amazing condition. Like this one I have here, I found today, and it's got a sharp tip, and all these serrations are there. I mean, every serration, you think about a tooth that's millions of years old, and it's fully serrated. And that's just because of the clay that they were embedded in. We go out every day. I scuba dive for these fossils, whether it's summer, winter, if we have a strong current or a weak current, whether I have any visibility or not. We go out in the rain. If it was snowing here, we'd probably still go out in the snow. But no matter what the weather, I like to try to go out diving.
As our guest speaker today, he's going to tell us about diving offshore. Bill?
Diving everywhere, actually inshore too. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me here. I think I know just about everyone. I kind of was talking to Nevin and Rena last night, and Rena said something to the effect of like, what I do would give her nightmares. And it kind of reminded me of something. It seems like whenever I have a bad dream or something, it's that like I'm back at Gulfstream working, or I take a job somewhere and I'm, in a computer. I remember one recently, I'm in a computer room at Gulfstream and I'm going, why did I do this? Why did I take this job? Why am I doing this again? And I was talking to a friend of mine that worked at Gulfstream with me, and he was telling me, he tried this for a while. He did like 5 or 6 dives, and I thought he was doing really well. I thought he liked it, and then all of a sudden he quit doing it. And I'd call him and say, you want to go again? He's like, no, I'm not going to go. And finally he says, yeah, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I was talking to him recently, and he goes, I still have nightmares about doing that. And he says, and I said, well, don't worry about it. I said, because all my nightmares are about what you do. So I worry more about going back to work than what I do. Today I had a really great day diving. I very rarely find anywhere near this many fossils, but we had a little bit of visibility today, and I just happened to get to an area that must have been recently uncovered. And so what I found is a mix of Megalodon teeth and other fossils. Most of what I found today are these hasteless mako teeth. They're the ancestor of the modern great white, and the wider ones are upper teeth, so they'd be from the upper jaw, and then the narrower ones that kind of have more of a dagger shape are lower teeth. These are really good. The smaller ones are good for necklaces, but a lot of people collect these. Mostly what I'm looking for when I'm diving, though, are the Megalodon teeth, and I found some beautiful Megalodon teeth today. It was really just incredible, the number of real sharply serrated teeth. And I'm lucky to find one like this in a day, and I couldn't believe the number of really incredibly preserved teeth that I found, Megalodon teeth I found today. One of the coolest finds today, though, is a 3-inch mako. It's one of those hasteless makos, and it measures just over 3 inches long. Most of them measure 1 to 2 inches, and it's really rare for me to find one that measures 3 inches. So that really kind of made my day, just this one tooth. So we came out today around 7 a.m. And we did 2 dives. I was out of the water probably by 11. Most of these teeth I found were by sight. I actually saw most of them. A few of them I reached out and felt for. A lot of the times my entire dive is by feel. I'm digging around the mud, trying to find the teeth. People ask me a lot about what I think about when I'm diving, because you're down there sometimes 3-4 hours a day. And a lot of that time, there might be days where you only find 1 or 2 teeth a dive. I mean, and my average is probably 2. So it's not like you're constantly finding stuff. I'm constantly digging, but your mind kind of goes, your body kind of goes on autopilot digging. And a lot of times I'll be thinking, you can be thinking about, oh, I need to do this, or someone emailed me about a tooth, or, what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, or what I did yesterday, or some TV show I watched, or a movie. And it's just like anything, it's all you're thinking about. It's like going on a ride, when you're driving and you're alone and there's no traffic, your mind wanders, and it does that a lot down there. And when a lot of times I'll be thinking of something else, and all of a sudden I'm going, oh, I'm holding a tooth. And it's like you'll grab a tooth and your body just stops. It's like your body knows, or something in your brain knows that you got a tooth in your hand, and you kind of come back to what you're doing. But a lot of times you'll be going along and just thinking about anything that happens during the day, or what you're going to do or what you did. In the summer, and it sounds crazy, and people say it can't be true. You're going along and you can't see anything, so it's totally dark. It's so relaxing. I mean, just the diving itself is just a relaxing thing. You're going along, you're totally relaxed. You can't see anything. There's no cell phone. There's no one else distracting you. Your mind's wandering. And I'll actually start to nod off a little bit, where you start to almost go to sleep. And you're not totally asleep, but you kind of start to, it's like you're kind of almost asleep, and you're thinking you're somewhere else, or you see something else that's not there, or hear something that's not there, like in the back of your mind. And people say, well, that's impossible. How could you possibly fall asleep while you're diving? And I say, well, people do it every day while they're driving a car. You always hear about people driving a car and they fall asleep, and how's that possible? Same thing when you're diving and the water's warm and it's so relaxing sometimes. You just kind of nod off, and then you kind of catch yourself and wake back up. And if it happens more than once a dive, I usually say it's time to go up. But if you're finding a lot, you kind of stay focused on what you're doing. If you're not finding a lot, like I said, I can go a half hour, an hour and not find anything. And at that point, your mind wanders. There have been times where my low air alarm goes off, and I think, I just got in here. And there are other times where you feel like you've been in the water for an hour, and you look at your air, and you've only been down 15 minutes. So it's like anything else. You just never, it's different every dive, and you think about all different things. When I first started diving for the Megalodon Teeth, it was with the charter service out of Hilton Head. And I really didn't know much about them. I knew what the Megalodon teeth looked like. They were these big triangle-shaped shark teeth. And so I'd go along, and what they told me, they said, anything that's dark in color and doesn't look like a rock, bring up, and we'll tell you what it is. And so you find a lot of rib bones that are broken, and a lot of broken vertebrae and things like that, along with some other more exciting finds. But I didn't know what most of it was. There were books out there that you could read that showed pictures of what everything was. I remember the first time I found a whale tooth, I was ecstatic. I didn't think I'd ever find another one. And now you find them on almost every dive. It was just a matter of starting to see what looked like maybe a fossil, and then bring it up. And then a lot of times books or other divers would tell me what it was. The internet's a great tool. Like, I would just go on a forum and post something and say, does anyone know what this is? And 30 people would answer you, and so you'd find out what things are. Again, a lot of the books, though, over the years have kind of helped me to learn what they are. The first time I went diving with a friend, he said, don't worry, you probably won't find much on the first dive. Well, back in Erie, we used to hunt on the shipwrecks and look around for pieces of china or just things that had fallen off the wreck. So I was used to getting down in the mud and digging around and finding things. And so I found a number of shark teeth on my first dive. So I got on the boat, and he's like, wow, you did really well. And I said, yeah. He goes, well, don't think you're going to find that much every dive. He said, that's unusual. Well, I went back down on the second dive, and I was digging along, and I was going along. These guys mostly hunted on the surface, but I was digging more. And I was digging into the mud and just going by feel. And I found a bag of shark teeth. Someone must have lost a bag of shark teeth, and they got covered up. So I came up on the second dive, and he said, did you find anything? And I said, well, it depends. You know, I don't know if it counts if you find a bag of shark teeth, that counts as just finding a bag, or if it counts as finding each shark tooth that's in the bag. So, but I got hooked right away. I mean, as soon as I started finding these, I was hooked. And I wanted to know what everything was, and I wanted to bring up everything I found. And really, that's the best way to learn what you have. There's all these things down there to find, and every time, I'd say every time I go diving, I find something, and I say, I don't know what this is. And I just kind of have to go and research it or ask other divers that have found them. On one of my first dives, I found something, and I remember seeing something similar in the dive shop in Hilton Head, and I didn't know what it was. I had no idea, but I knew it was something, and it looked kind of like this. It felt like, it always reminded me of a rack of ribs. You could feel these ridges on it, and I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was something. And so I put it in my bag, and I thought, well, maybe there's another one. I started looking around, and I found another one. Well, they were too big. I had one in my bag, and I had other teeth in my bag, and the other one was real big, and I was carrying it back to the boat. And I get back to the boat, and my friend was on the boat, and I handed it up, and he says, that's a mammoth tooth. That's a mammoth elephant tooth. And I go, well, that's good, right? Because I didn't know. I just knew I was trying to find something, and I saw it in the dive shop. I go, well, that's good, right? And he goes, well, you'll never find another one. And I go, I got another one in my bag. And I handed the other one up, and he couldn't believe it. I guess he had been diving about a year, and he just never ran into one. So I had found two that day. Since then, I found a number of them. But it was just one of those things that I had no idea what it was. I just knew it was something, and I brought up. And this is a this is a mammoth, part of a mammoth tooth. And they have these ridges. They're enamel plates, and they run vertically, and then the chewing surface is up here. And the mammoths ate grass, and so they would grind the grass. But this is just a little part of a tooth. This looks pretty big, but it's only part of a tooth. They're very fragile, which you're about to see, because this one I found broke into 3 pieces. Let's see if I can put it back together. I think these are, yeah, this one, and then this was on one end. I think this was on the back end, but that's about the size of a regular mammoth tooth. And like I said, this one had actually broke into 3 pieces after I found it. So they are very fragile. People ask all the time if I sell these. I do sometimes sell mammoth teeth, but I don't like to ship them because they tend to break. But like I said, the mammoth, this is the chewing surface and ate grass. There was another similar animal, a mastodon elephant, which people have heard about, but they had a totally different diet. They ate leaves and ferns, and so their teeth look completely different. This is a mastodon tooth, and it looks more like a molar. Like, you know, you can kind of identify that more as a tooth. If you saw this, you'd think maybe it was a rock. This you kind of tell is a tooth. It's like an enamel cap. If you just look at part of it, it almost looks like a back human tooth. They ate leaves and ferns, so they would actually chew rather than just grind up their food, and that's why the tooth was shaped so differently. If you saw a picture of what each of the animals looked like, it would be hard to tell which was which, you know, for most people. But you kind of learn all that as you go. So over the years, like I said, I've been diving for these since '99. So that's 20 years I've been diving for these fossils, and you just learn a little bit at a time until you kind of, you know, get to know more about them. All these fossils I found today are from the Pliocene epoch, or the late Miocene, early Pliocene, which would be like 2 to 5 million years old. Different scientists have different theories about how old they are. I've always heard that they're at least 2 million years old. Now they've come out with a study that say, no, they're at least 3.5 million years old. So the numbers that most scientists seem to agree on is somewhere between 2 and 5 million years old. And that goes for the Megalodon, the Mako, these Hemipristis, the whales, even these prehistoric mammoth and mastodon teeth, they think can be as old as 1 million years old or as current as 50,000. So the Megalodon teeth, they think, are 2 million or older. The mastodon and mammoth, they think are about 50,000 or older. But they all have different theories on, you know, on how old they are. Some people have radically different theories about the age of the Earth, and how old these fossils are. And so that's why when people ask me, I always like to say, well, scientists say they're 2 million years old, and that way you don't get into an argument with anyone that believes something different. I tell them, well, go argue with the scientists then, because I'm not going to argue with you. So when I have a day like this where I find so much, all I can think about is getting out and diving tomorrow. So with any luck tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up and do it all over again. And maybe I'll find something even more amazing. That's the neat thing about this, is you never know. If you want to see more of my finds, go to megateeth.com. I'm also on Facebook, Megateeth Fossils. I'm on Instagram, and I'm on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. So go ahead and visit all those places. Feel free to email me or send me a message with any questions you have. I always love talking about these. I never get tired of it. We could go on all day. Thank you again for watching.